Hello and welcome to the I Am Woman project, where every week we have deep, thought-provoking and interesting conversations with thought leaders, change instigators, rule breakers and creative minds who think differently, sparking creativity and inspiration. Our special guests on our show cover a variety of topics just for you, and they share their personal stories to inspire, motivate and empower you, our listener. The I Am Woman podcast is produced for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at www.catherineplano.com. Come back often and feel free to add the podcast to your favourite RSS feed or iTunes. All links are in the show notes. Now let's get into the show. Today we have Jules Brooke, the do-it-yourself PR agent. Jules is the director of Handle Your Own PR, who has helped thousands of small business owners and entrepreneurs to make millions of dollars worth of media exposure by running their own PR campaigns. All this by using her online boot camps, coaching and PR tools. Jules' students have been on TV, radio and featured in magazines and newspapers nationally. Many of them have gone on to huge success in their businesses. She has owned and operated a number of small businesses herself and ran a PR agency specialising in small business clients, startups and entrepreneurs for well over a decade, working in Australia and overseas. Jules has a big personality and infectious enthusiasm that she uses to great effect when she teaches. She manages to simplify the whole process to make handling your own PR an easy, achievable part of your marketing mix. So sit back, tune in, and enjoy the show. Welcome to the show, Jules Brooke. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, Catherine.
I think I just said Brooks. It should be Brooke. I do apologise.
Well done for picking that up. No, that's no problem at all.
So, Jules, I thought we better start recording because we started having a little bit of a conversation around PR, and I thought we better start recording because our listeners are going to miss out on all this juicy information. So, to start, why don't we get into introducing who you are and a little bit about your company?
All right. You would like me to fire away and tell you a little bit about myself?
Absolutely.
Okay. So for about the last 15 years or so, I've been teaching small business owners and entrepreneurs how to grow their sales and get the phone ringing by getting in the media for free, which is what PR is all about. And I've owned a lot of small businesses myself. I've had all sorts of startups, and some have been successful and some haven't. And then I, in 2003, started a PR agency which I worked at right up until last year, where I specialised in small business clients and startups and entrepreneurs, and had particularly a lot of mumpreneurs back in the, I guess, sort of mid-2000s. And having worked in most disciplines in marketing, so marketing consists of advertising, PR, sales, promotion, direct mail, all sorts of different kinds. And I've worked in most of them now, both here and in London. And then in 2003, not 2003, in 2009, when the GFC hit, and I realised that that lots of the small businesses that I was working with really couldn't afford to pay a PR agency, but they had great stories. And I know the media is always looking for great stories. And I thought, hang on a minute, I could teach them how to do it themselves. And I guess that's how Handle Your Own PR sort of started. And then since then, I've had over 1,000 small business owners that I've helped along the way. I do online boot camps, I do one-on-one coaching, I sell media contact lists, and I've got all sorts of things like audio books and a lot of the things that you've got, Catherine, I've noticed on your website as well. And my students have been featured now on TV and radio. They've been in magazines and newspapers. And for a lot of them, the PR has made a massive difference to their business. So really, that's kind of where I'm at. So now, last year, I sold my agency to my business partner and I took on Handle Your Own PR and really started focusing on it properly. So that's where I'm at now. It's my big baby and it's going to bloody well work.
Love your energy. I think that, from my experience, and I know I'm sure that the listeners will be able to relate to this, is PR can be quite costly, very expensive, and not always seeing your return on investment.
No.
So with doing your own PR, and I'm just, thinking of myself here, but I know that listeners would be thinking the same. What about if you don't have a lot of time to do your own PR?
Doing PR actually doesn't take that long. So the time really, once you know how to do it, so obviously there's a little bit of time involved in understanding the process. But I mean, I would say to people, the first time you do it, set aside a day so that and it probably wouldn't take that long, but that will allow you to write your media release, work out your newsworthy angles and write your media release and get your media contacts together and send it out. Because with the sending out, you're literally cutting and pasting and sending an email and forwarding it and then cutting and pasting and like that. So you get into a bit of a process. And then after you've spent that one day, you really only need about an hour a week, maybe not even that long, to do some follow-up. And then the next month you set aside a bit more time, and by then you probably are much better at writing because you've done it once and you know what the journalists are looking for, and you write another release and you send it out again. So it would end up being, I mean, I do my own PR and I would say I would be amazed if I spend more than 6 hours a month on it.
Oh, wow. And how do you make your release stand out amongst the noise? Because, when we're talking about media agencies, they receive hundreds, maybe even thousands a day. What's the one thing that they look for?
Well, isn't that interesting? I actually have been interviewing journalists and producers about this over the last 12 months because I think that's really interesting. What you need to do is be very clear in your media release. Now, I've had people I've been working with say, should I write pitch to Herald Sun as my subject line? And the answer is definitely not. What you want to do is something that clearly explains what it is that you do or that's a bit clever and funny. So, for instance, we were doing some PR we were working with a guy who had a picture framing business. And what he did, because one of the things that you really have to do is not talk about your own business. It's not about you. It's about what advice or information you can give to help other people. And if you have that in the back of your mind, you'll always come up with the right kind of angle. But what we did with him was we did 5 or 10 tips for how to hang pictures up on the wall, the kind of frames to look for, how you can group them together, that kind of thing. And we did as a heading, "Are you well hung?" And then what you can do is use the subject line of your media release the heading of your media release as your subject line, which is what we did. And I think everyone was just so intrigued, particularly the men, no doubt, with the heading, "Are you well hung?" that we got about 40 articles. So it is all about trying to do something a little bit different. I did another one with diamond rings and we went carrots for Easter, spelt in diamond kind of carrots way. So it's trying to come up with something that's a little bit different. If you've got a guest, then maybe you put that in the subject heading as well. But journalists a lot of them will open it up and read the first couple of paragraphs to find out what it is that you're contacting them about. Some of them who are super busy, so some TV presenters will just sit there with their finger over the delete button. But most journalists, I guess people just have to understand that if you're trying to fill a newspaper and a website every single day with new stories, then you need those stories to come from wherever. So when you're going to the media and you're knocking on their door or ringing them or whatever, you've got to don't think that it's not like you're selling. It's not like cold calling someone, because the journalists are sitting there waiting for someone to give them the story that's going to make their day. So they're on the lookout. They'll be very receptive to you. It's not as scary as people think it is. And also in terms of coming up with newsworthy angles, there is loads and loads of information out there. If you did a Google search for what makes a newsworthy article, you'll find loads of advice. And I've also got some on my website where there's a whole lot of different things. Is it innovative? Is it solving a problem? Is it a first time in Australia? Is there an interesting backstory? There's a whole lot of prompts that can help people come up with something that's newsworthy. And then you work that into your subject line as well.
That's very interesting. And I think that it's also depending on what PR agency you deal with, they all have their own way of doing it, isn't it? I think that some of the PR agencies I've worked with, it's really about finding about your story, your backstory. And
Yeah,
that's what they've pitched is the backstory. And it's about the individual, so some of the things that have, they've experienced over time. When in
that's right.
actual fact, when you think about it, it's like when you blog. For me, when I write on a regular basis. I write to help inspire,
That's right.
empower by giving tips and information. But I've not thought of doing that for a PR piece, though. That's
Where,
interesting.
whereas one of the most, oh, sorry, let me just delete that. One of the most interesting, one of the best ways any small business owner can get coverage is to offer those tips and advice, because that's really what the journalists are looking for. And I'd say 90% of small businesses that fail in terms of getting publicity, it's because they're talking about their business too much. It's all about, everyone needs to know about my business because it's so great, but that's not actually how the media works. What they want to know is, what advice can you give someone? And then we'll put something at the bottom that says where you can find out more information and who has provided the information.
Yeah, because I know I've had a few journalists who work with me, and they've wanted facts, dates, like lots of data for one article.
Well, it depends who you're going to. Newspapers, in particular, will really want a lot of sort of stats and background kind of proof of the business. But there's other ones. I mean, Dynamic Business is a great one that's always looking for small business stories if you're looking for B2B kind of stuff. If you've got products, then most of the weekend magazines and most of the glossy magazines out there have got a page where they're featuring products, hot things we love, new products that we recommend. And it's very easy to get your products into that kind of a business. And then with the coaching or anything that you're doing that's offering a service, then you really need to think about how you can explain what it is that you do, or how you solve a problem, or write your media release with the problem as the heading, and then answer the problem underneath. And everyone can be seen to be an expert. I mean, I was watching a news article from America the other day, and they had a little block at the bottom, where they normally say, this expert's from whatever, and he was a cheese grater expert. So you can find the most bizarre experts out there. They are just looking for people that it works really specific.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. So, Jules, I'm going to ask you, what drives you? What's that thing that makes you jump out of bed in the morning?
I have been so lucky because I run my own businesses, and I have for years now. I literally do bounce out of bed most mornings when I'm not giving myself the day off, which is not very often. But I just bounce out of bed because I think what really drives me is I love helping people, and I love to see businesses transformed. And I know that PR can do that. So I'm really passionate about what it is that I do, because I've been a small business owner, and I didn't have enough money for advertising, and I didn't know the best way of getting my business name out there. And since I've really discovered PR in the last 20 years or so, I just feel like it's my mission in life to let everyone know that it's free, that there is a way of doing marketing that's free. So I guess that's one of the things that drives me. The other one is I'm still find the media really sexy. Like, I really get a buzz every time I get an article up, or one of my clients gets an article up. So that is definitely one of my drivers as well.
I know
But
you actually shared that
yeah,
before. You were saying that one of your clients was really beside themselves because their article was it on the? Did you say the Herald Sun or
it's
something
gone
today?
into the Herald Sun, and he's been calling me today going, oh my God. And I said, well, did you get, has the phone been ringing hot? And he said, we've already, like, the website's nearly broken. We've had loads and loads of people online making inquiries. And that's the power of PR. I mean, that's why I do it. It's so exciting. And he's beside himself because, now when I said to him, so you have to do more, and he's going, first I've got to manage, all the workload I'm going to get out of this article.
Yeah, true. And you know what I loved about you, Jules, when we were having a chat, you were just talking about, producing some of your own content and not necessarily having a team. Like, you're doing a lot of this yourself, and you've
I'm
got
doing it all myself, Catherine.
all yourself with the help
Oh,
of your
there
your
is only
partner and
me.
yeah. But then I think your son's helped you a little bit, and your partner as well, which I guess is a little bit more. But just to I think for me it was the authenticity that you don't need a whole team to do this, that you can do it on your own, and even if you don't have the expertise of video yourself, you can get somebody on board that would know how to do that and so forth. And I think that's really important for our listeners, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs and women in business who are on their own, who actually doesn't have a team. And doesn't have the money to invest in PR.
That's right. I mean, really, for PR, the cheapest I would imagine most people would be able to get it would be $2,500 a month for 3 months. So that's $7,500. Most it's more like $3,000 or $3,500. That is a huge amount of money for a small business to throw into their marketing, especially because, as you said, with PR, there's never any guarantees. I mean, something might happen in the media that means that your story gets bumped. So to be able to do it yourself is just, I mean, it's that age-old story, isn't it? If you give a man a fish, he can feed for a night. If you teach him how to fish, he can feed for a lifetime. And I guess that's sort of what I'm trying to do. So imagine if you did a year of your own publicity, you would probably save yourself nearly $40,000 instead of having to pay an agency. And really, as I said, the time commitment is not that huge. It's just like anything. It's even like learning to ride a bike. You really need to spend a little bit of time at the beginning just to familiarize yourself and do it for the first time. And after that, it'll come easy and you'll be able to whip out a media release and send it off before you know it. And, of course, the other thing I love about doing your own PR is that you build your own relationships with journalists so that the time comes, and it can come quite quickly, that they will start calling you for advice or for articles or for whatever it is that you might need, they might need.
You mentioned about you sell media lists, is that right?
Yes, I do.
You do.
Yep.
And is this a collection of your list over the 20-odd years, or?
Look, it's partly that, and partly I've managed to get hold of lists over time. So I've got the way that I've done it on the website at the moment is I've got them split up into like fashion media, beauty media, small business media, sports, whatever it might be that people have. But I am about to do my 5th website relaunch sometime in the next month or so. And in that one, people will be able to build their own media list. So I've now got about 500 topics and about 15,000 journalists with the new website. So people will be able to create their own list on whatever topic they want.
Wow, that's amazing. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
So, Jules, with the benefit of hindsight, what would you have done differently in your life or career?
Well, there is a big irony here, because I think people were saying this to me all the way through my early years of my business, and I completely ignored them, which was to focus on one thing at a time. I am the ultimate queen of, juggling plates in the air. And at one stage I had Handle Communications, which was my PR agency, Handle Your Own PR, which is, this business where I teach people how to do their own PR online. I also had 2 parenting products that I was getting out onto the market, a range of envelopes in Officeworks, and was still going out going, oh, my God, there's a brilliant idea. I want to run that business as well. So I was really all over the place. And until I last year made the decision that no, Handle Your Own PR is where I really want to focus, and I've got rid of everything else just so that I can work on it. And it's just made a huge difference. It really, to be able to give your full attention to one business and work on it transforms it, because you're really able to get that depth and get all those little bits and pieces that you've been meaning to get to and not having the time for it. Get them all happening. So that, I think, is probably the best advice anyone ever gave me, even though I ignored it for years, was that you should actually just focus on one business at a time.
And it's always, I find, it can be a little bit hard if you're an entrepreneur, because it's finding that right piece that's going to work for you. It could be, high level, it could be whatever that may be. So yours high level was PR, but then from that there was different streams under that PR. And, the way that you were explaining it, it's the more things that we do and the more we say yes to, we actually deplete some of that energy, and it's hard to just be focused on that one thing. It's like multitasking. It's impossible to be good at one.
Yeah, well, and we are terrible. We're not terrible. We're great as women.
Yes.
At multitasking, and I love it, But boy, oh boy, when I really took away the distractions and really focused, it's just made a huge difference. So I guess that's my learning in my old age, that I've kind of gone, right, okay, that's what I should have done 10 years ago. But anyway,
At least you've done it now.
that's right. Advice we can pass on to other people instead.
Yeah, absolutely. So what advice would you give your younger self?
I guess I would say, well, firstly, I would say you're young and you've got no kids and you've got no family, so go and enjoy yourself and enjoy life without responsibility, which I guess, to be honest, did. Um, but I also wish I had got the entrepreneurial bug when I was younger. And I did, when I was about 25, I set up a graphic design company with a couple of partners, but it wasn't something happened. I had twins in 2006, 10 years ago, and something switched in my brain then. I don't know whether it was because of the pregnancy, but I literally just became so entrepreneurial and I could see business opportunities everywhere. And I'm a great one the one thing that they'll say about entrepreneurs is everyone can have ideas, but a true entrepreneur actually goes and implements them. And I was implementing businesses left, right, and centre. So, I guess I would have said to myself, enjoy yourself because, you have no responsibilities. However, I wish, as I said, I did a little bit as an employee on a newspaper for about 5 years, but I wish from there I'd just gone into setting up businesses, because what I've learned since I started doing that, I would love to have known everything I know now 10 years ago and been able to apply it then. And I'd also tell myself not to sweat the small stuff, because the older you get, I think the easier it is to see your life subjectively, and you actually start to see things as being trivial that you thought were so important years and years ago, and you can kind of see down the barrel and go, God, just get on with things, stop stressing over little bits and pieces, because they don't really matter. It's the bigger picture that matters.
Yeah, and I think that naturally comes with age, the whole wisdom piece. I think I say that, I hear myself saying, gosh, if only I had this knowledge 20 years ago, where would I be today?
I know. I guess, when you meet, pensioners and people who are in their 70s and 80s, they always say that too. And again, until I get closer to that, I had kind of discounted it, but it is totally true.
Yeah. And I think with the entrepreneurial mindset, you're either born that way, because I think that it's probably, my sister used to say to me, you always think of ideas on how to create a business, or anything you look at, you'll think of a business opportunity.
Yes.
And I think I've always had it, but I probably didn't do it, probably I've only been in it probably the last 10 years or so. Yeah. But I think that it's a natural thing that, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you can study to become it, but it's in you. It's innate.
It's innate. Yeah. I think it's a bit like sales. I think you're a natural salesperson or you're not.
Yes.
Having done sales years ago and done all these courses where they'd tell us how to sell, I would think, I don't want to do a course. It either comes easy to you, and you're right. Entrepreneur. A lot of people, though, I think are ideas generators. But an entrepreneur is somebody who then takes that and works out how to commercialize it.
Yes, absolutely. So being the woman in business and having lots of businesses over time, what keeps you up at night? Do you worry about anything?
Yeah, money. Always worry about money. Nothing else keeps me awake at night, really. So when things are good, I sleep like a top. And there have been times over the years where I have been waking up at 2:00 in the morning, day after day, going, oh my God, what's going to happen? Will that person pay me tomorrow? And I used to say to friends who, when they set up small businesses, I'd say you're just going to have nerves of steel, because really when you're used to being an employee and you get that regular amount every month, it is very scary to have bills coming in and not be sure when, if the client's going to be able to pay in time for you to be able to pay the bill on time. So I would say really that is the only thing that has ever kept me awake. And thankfully everything always works out in the end. But boy, oh boy, there have been times where I've had to really grit my teeth and cross my fingers and toes and eyeballs and everything else, hoping that everything will work.
Oh, you're hilarious, crossing your eyeballs. I haven't heard that one. I think it's a commonality amongst all entrepreneurs and women in business, or anyone in business really, when it comes to finances. And it's interesting because I've had this conversation quite often with entrepreneurs. It's one of the things that comes up quite often is, am I charging what I'm worth? There's a whole work.
Oh, yeah. That thorny question.
Yes, I know. And even I remember myself when I first started, it's like, how do I price things and what would I price my services? That was the other thing. And that was interesting. I mean, over time, you understand.
Become more comfortable with it, yeah.
That's right. But I remember somebody said to me that, worrying about money is almost praying it for it to happen. And when I heard that, I thought, oh my gosh, I don't want to worry about money because I'm not praying for having problems of not receiving money. So it's having that real abundant mindset. And I have to share this with you, that the moment I made that shift of not worrying about money, things changed for me. Because I used to be the same. I used to be exactly the same, coming from a corporate background of 150,000 to then zero. It was scary. It was scary not having that regular income, and it took me. I mean, that's a good 10 years ago, but still, that was a very, very scary thing to go through. And then backing yourself, because when you're working with an organization, they've got a marketing department, they've got a sales department, they've got everything. Whereas when you go out on your own, you do it all on your own.
And then you realize you can, and that actually you're quite good at it, and that it's not all that hard. But it's so funny the way that your mind kind of plays tricks on you. But you're right. I think it was probably only about 3 or 4 years ago that I just did the mind shift and said, the money will come, don't worry about it. But boy, but I had, I split with my husband when my twins were only 4. Yeah. So I was really worried that I had 3 young children, and there I was going out into business on my own with no backup or support. But, it's all worked out, and I'm so glad I did it, and I have no regrets at all. The lifestyle that I've had and the fact that I've been able to bring up my kids and see them all the time and all that kind of thing has made it all worthwhile. And now my business is about to go stratospheric, I reckon.
That's fantastic. I
watch this space, Catherine.
Oh, I'm watching it. I think that how courageous of you too. I think it's amazing. 3 children and doing what you're doing. I take my hat off to you.
Oh, it's going to work. There's nothing like backing yourself, as you say. So it's going to work. It's going to be fine.
It sure is going to work.
Well, it is working, yeah.
Yeah, it is. So who's been your greatest influence?
Oh, you asked me that in the questionnaire, and I have to say that I can't think of any one particular person. I have been really, really lucky in my life to have a number of influences. Everything from my dad, who was an obstetrician that kind of left England and came over to Australia with 4 young kids and didn't know anyone here and set up a business. So I guess that kind of influenced me. My brothers are very successful entrepreneurs. I've had so many fantastic people along the way, from experienced people to people that just support me emotionally, that people that give you amazing advice that you remember. And I therefore hope, that I do that for other people as well, because I just think that that it's the combination of a whole lot of different influences and people that have had a big effect on me. But definitely, I mean, the greatest influence has been people, without any doubt at all.
You can see that, and I think that you're quite influential because you're such a down-to-earth person.
Oh, thank you very much, Catherine. So are you.
Thank you. So we always ask our women of inspiration to pick one word that best describes their personal brand. So what would be that one word for you?
I think it's authentic. I think that probably covers everything, because I don't like to be dishonest. I don't like to give people false hope. I don't like to explain things in complicated ways. I guess I would call myself a no bullshit woman, if I'm allowed to say that on air.
Of course.
But I would have to say that I like to be honest with people, and I like people to be honest with me. And I think that people can tell that I'm coming from a place of authenticity when I'm teaching and when I'm speaking with people, because I am.
Very much so. And when you're talking about your teaching, tell us a little bit about your online boot camp.
Oh, right. So last year, so basically for the first 5, 6, 7 years of the website, when I set it up, and it's had loads of iterations. I mean, I think if you've got business owners out there, they'll all know that everything changes and you just got to keep reinventing yourself. But for a long time, I sold media contacts, and I had the information on my website as to how to do it. but people used to get very, very nervous about it. And then mid last year, I met with a great woman called Karina Ho, who said, let's go out and start doing webinars and teaching people. So we came up with a 6-part series that we started doing as these live boot camps. And people would come along, and I'd just do an hour a week, once a week, and we'd take them through the different process, and then they'd go off and write their media release or come up with their newsworthy angles. And during the course, they would actually send out their media release and do the follow-up. And it worked really, really well. And I think I've taught about, 80 or 90 people now. And I would say 90%, in fact, I'd say almost 100% of the ones that have actually gone ahead and used the information and the education that I've given them have had fantastic results. And so from that, I started thinking, well, why don't I actually just edit them? So my beautiful son, who's 14 or 15 now, and who's very, very good at editing, edited them all down for me. So I've now got them as 6 standalone lessons so that people can do them at their own speed. And basically it in a very simple terms tells you what to get together first, that you need logos, that you need to have samples, and your website needs to be ready, how to work out your newsworthy angles, how to write a media release and get that all happening, and then how to approach the media, what to say, whether you should do it via email or phone. And then at the very end, I do an hour on, once you've got your clipping, what can you do with it? And of course, the beautiful thing about PR, which is different to almost every other type of marketing, but if we were to compare it to advertising, is that what do you do with an ad once you've run it? I mean, it's great, but you can't really put that out in social media or do anything with it. Whereas once you get an article, not only are you getting inbound links from whoever it is that's written the article on their website and positioning you as an expert, but you also have things to go out in social media and to put into your newsletters and to blog about. So it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving.
I love it. And so what would be the investment for the online bootcamp?
My standalone boot camps, which is what I'm doing now, which is the pre-recorded ones, are $600 for all of them. And if you get the full 6, then you'll get half an hour on the phone with me, and we'll talk about your business and your business goals and what you want the PR to achieve and the sorts of angles that might work. I've also got audio books of the same thing, so you could listen to them in the car on the way to work, or when you're out and about, and they're only $400. And then I've got one-on-one coaching that I do, which is a phone call a week for $1,000 a month, and there's no strings. People can stop and start as much as they like, or you can just buy an hour of my time and we'll chat about your business. So there's 1,000,001 different ways. I've got ebooks on there, all sorts of different things. But the boot camp, doing the 6-step process, and probably doing it as the video one where you get to see the examples and I do some role playing and things like that, is probably the best one for anyone who isn't sure or hasn't done PR before and wants to sort of, have a pretty comprehensive course to do. But I mean, I think we've edited them down to maybe 40 minutes each, something like that. Plus, anybody who does the boot camp lessons is going to have access to, I've been interviewing journalists on video so that I can show that to my students. So I've got about 12 different producers and journalists from everything from the Herald Sun to Studio 10 and BRW and Voyeur magazine. I've been interviewing all the journalists about what they're looking for from small businesses who might be approaching them with stories. So you get access to that as well.
Wow, that's amazing. What a great investment. $600 is nothing really when you're thinking about handling your own PR. That's fantastic. So,
thank you.
Jules, what we do as we wrap up the show, at the end of every show, we always ask our women of inspiration to share 3 golden nuggets with our listeners. So what would be your 3 golden nuggets that you would like to share with our listeners?
All right. That's a big question, I have to say. When I was looking at it thinking 3 golden nuggets, wow, how do you distill everything into 3? But I think I've come up with 3 good ones. So my first one is be tenacious and don't give up. And I think that anybody who has a small business knows that about their business. And when it comes to PR, I say that to people all the time. Don't be put off by people rejecting you. Don't be put off by naysayers who say it won't work. Don't be put off by anything, really. If you believe that you have a really good idea or you're working hard in your business and your customers are loving it, then keep going and don't ever give up. My second one is that I live this myself, and I do think that it comes back to you, is to be very generous with your time and advice. I like to over deliver. I like to really help people so that they all walk away with a really like just feeling good about themselves and feeling good about the whole interaction. And I actually think that that is advice that can be applied across all businesses, and that if you are generous and you do offer good advice, then people will remember it, and it comes back to you. Other people will give you great advice. So that's my second one. And my third one, and you won't believe this, but is that I think that everyone should be trying PR. I think it gives you the best bang for your buck when it comes to marketing, and I don't think there's anything better that you can do when it comes to building awareness of yourself or your business, or positioning you as an expert, or giving your business kind of integrity and its third-party endorsement because the editor or the journalist is saying how great your business is. So that's my third one. I think everyone should try it.
I love it. I love the second one too, because I really believe in word of mouth. And I think that if you go above and beyond what the expectations
People
of others,
expect.
it comes back tenfold. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it makes you feel good. So everyone walks away from a situation where you've been, you don't want to be so generous that it's doing yourself a disservice. But if somebody thinks that you're going to give them 5 minutes of your time, give them 10 minutes of your time. If someone wants something small from you, I like to give them a couple of things, or whatever. But it's all about trying to do the right thing by other people. And then I think that it does come back to you and people do the same thing for you and you feel good about yourself.
Oh, love it. So, Jules, where can our listeners find you?
Okay, the easiest place to find me is, well, there's two actually. My website, which I just have to say now, because where are we now? We're in October 16. So I don't know when this is going to air, but I am literally weeks, and hopefully not very many of them, away from launching a new website. But the website at the moment, and it'll have the same address, is Handle Your Own PR. So it's HANDLEYOUROWNPR, exactly as you would spell it. handleyourownpr.com.au. The other place where I'm really active is on Facebook. And if you go onto my Facebook page at Handle Your Own PR, I'm on there all the time. I love Facebook. I don't know what is wrong with me, but that's my baby, even though I should probably be on Twitter more. Twitter, we're at Handle Your Own PR. LinkedIn, I'm just Jules Brooke. I don't use the company page very much. And Instagram, we've just started a new Instagram account at Handle Your Own PR as well.
Fantastic. Look, Jules, thank you so very much for your time and your amazing energy. And I know our listeners are going to get a lot out of it. And I myself very interested in looking at your Handle Your Own PR.
Great. Come and do it.
Boot camp. Yes. And I'm sure our listeners will be too. So thank you so much.
Maybe I'll have to get you to do it, Catherine. You can blog about it for your listeners and for your audience.
I would love to do that. That would be awesome. Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thanks, Catherine. Bye.
Bye. That brings us to the end of another episode. I hope you enjoyed the show, as it is my mission to reach out and inspire as many individuals like you. And one of the best ways to help us achieve this goal is by giving us a good review on iTunes. It's easy and it only takes about 10 seconds. If you have any questions or special guests that you would like to hear from, please send us an email to support@catherineplano.com.au and we will get right back to you. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter or Facebook at Catherine Plano. That's it for now. Thanks for listening. Until next week, please take care.